Okay, so now let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. I'm just going to press play on my audio file here, pick up where we left off, and continue making the slides as I'm listening to the audio.
What's up? It's Peter Beatty here, and I'm here with my friend Jamie Go Get It Garside. And if you're a local marketer, a web designer, or if you just make money by selling websites to local businesses, we got something really cool to show you here today in this video.
Okay, so if you notice the last sentence there, I said we've got something really cool to show you in this video. That's where I want to create the next slide. So we basically introduced Jamie and myself, basically asked them if they were a local marketer or a web designer, or they just sell websites for profit. Then they're going to love what we have to show them. So what we're going to do now is create the next slide. And I'm just going to duplicate this first slide that we've made here because the text is already there. And I'm just going to type, you're gonna love this. And if you remember back on the original PowerPoint, we have, we're positioning the text, the style we're going after here is the text, is basically the same width. So if the top text it has more letters or more characters, then we're using a smaller font size to keep that, uniform look. And so what I'm going to do is just drag that out of the way. And first of all, we got to switch these colors here. So I'm actually using the dark gray on the top, and I'm using the blue on the bottom. And I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, and I'm going to shrink down the top text just until it gets to about the same size as the bottom text. That looks pretty close. I'll bump it down to 52 just to be sure. And there's our second slide. So now I'm going to add an animation to this. And the way I like to do it is I like to add transitions sometimes instead of animations. So for example, let's see if there's any animations added to this line of text here before we continue on. I'm just going to click on animation pane, and there's nothing over here, so we know that this text has no animation on it. So like I said, in the first slide, you can add all these fancy animations and stuff like that, but there's also a much simpler way. If you're just going to be showing a bunch of slides one after another with text on them, and you really don't want to get too fancy, the easiest thing to do would just be to not add an animation to the text. Just select the slide and add a transition instead. And the transitions that I like to use are these down here under dynamic content. So basically what you do is you add the transition to the slide that you want to transition into. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So let's go ahead and just pick one of these that we like. I kind of like the fly through animation. Okay, so now let's play that animation, or let's take a preview at this slideshow just to see what it looks like so far. I like to preview things, as I'm building the slides to see that I'm doing everything right. So first of all, the slide starts. We pop in like that. Click again. We go up to the top, and the word local marketer comes up. The word web designer comes up, and obviously we can move these pictures down if we wanted to. I might do that, but I might not. And then after we start saying that they're going to like what we have in store for them, we have this other slide come in. Basically says you're going to love this. Now, if you noticed, all the stuff on the previous slide just kind of flew towards the screen, and then the next slide kind of flew into view. That's the transition working there. We don't have any fancy animations. We don't need to spend time adding a bunch of animations if we're just doing simple text like this. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and listen to the audio. It's time to move on to the next slide. And basically the next statement or sentence I'm going to make another slide for.
We've got something that's going to save you loads of time and help you drastically increase the profits in your business. And you might just
Okay, so there I want to make a slide for that. We've got something that's going to save you lots of time and help you increase the profits in your business. So I'm going to just duplicate this slide, and I'm going to basically summarize what I just said there. Not word for word, just summarize. So I'm just going to say save time and increase profits. And as you can see, we've got to resize everything here to keep our format going here. So I'm going to select the top line of text, make it about 80, and then I'm going to shrink the bottom line of text to right about, let's say 48. I'm going to make the top one a little bit bigger. So that looks pretty good there. And we've got, remember, we basically duplicated this slide here, so the transition basically carried over to this slide. So if we were to view the animation again, or the slideshow again, sorry about that. View the slideshow, remember we fly into You're Gonna Love This, and then we fly into Save Time and Increase Profits. Now we could basically change the transition if we wanted to. If we wanted, if we didn't want that same fly-in effect to happen on this slide, we could just go to Transition, go down to Dynamic Content. We can just choose another one. So let's try the window effect. That looks kind of cool. So now let's see what that looks like. So remember, we fly in to You're Gonna Love This. Then now it's going to show like a window kind of transition here. See how it kind of opens up like a window? Simple as that. Just select transition and you're good to go. So let's continue listening to the audio, and we're going to create about another 2 more slides before we get into a more complex slide here with some pictures and stuff. So let's continue on.
Be asking, what exactly are we talking about? Well, you just have to stick around for the next 5 minutes or so until the end of this video to find out. But trust us, it will be worth the wait.
Okay, so if you notice what I just said right there, after I started talking about how it's going to save them time and increase profits, I basically said, hey, you might be wondering what we're talking about here, and what exactly are we talking about, because I haven't mentioned that yet. And I said, well, you just got to stick around and find out, and we will basically reveal that, and trust us, it'll be worth the wait. So I want to make one slide to summarize that little string of sentences there. So I'm just going to duplicate our last slide. And if you remember, I told you that whenever I'm talking from the listener's point of view, I like to use a different colored text, green text to be exact. I just kind of think it does something subconsciously to make them more engaged with the video. Just kind of breaks it up a little bit. So for this slide, I'm going to say, what is it? Okay, I'm going to put it in quotes, and then I'm going to tell them that they have to stick around and find out. And I think I put a little smiley face there last time. And that text is a little bit too big, so I'm going to shrink it down to right about there. And I'm going to change this text here to green because I'm talking from the listener's point of view. And I'm going to change this to the gray that we've been using. And the transition I'm going to use here, I'm just going to pick something different just to keep things interesting. I will use the conveyor transition. That looks kind of cool. So let's preview that and see what it looks like. So we fly into You're Gonna Love This, window into It's Gonna Save Time and Help You Increase Profits, and we conveyor belt over to, well, what exactly are we talking about? You're gonna have to stick around and find out. Trust us, it'll be worth the wait. So let's continue on. We're going to make one more slide here. Let's go to press play on our audio.
All know there is a huge income potential in the offline arena. That goes without saying. And one of the easy...
Okay, so Jamie starts talking on this part of the audio when he basically says, we all know basically the potential there is in offline local marketing. That goes without saying. So I want to make a slide that says, the obvious thing to note here is that there's a lot of money in local marketing to be made. So let's make one slide dedicated to that statement. I'm going to just duplicate our last slide here, and I'm going to summarize it by saying local marketing is a gold mine. Okay? And obviously I got to shrink down that text quite a bit here. So I'm going to bring it back down to around, let's see, that looks about right, 60, and I'm going to increase is a gold mine to probably about 78 pixels. Let's see what that does. That's pretty close right there. And since we're not talking from the viewer's perspective, I'm just going to change it to the dark gray. And I also want to add something else in here. I just want to add one more line that says the obvious. Actually, I'm going to do another line here. So basically I just copied that block of text. I'm going to put the obvious. I'm going to put it up here on the left. Left justify it because the text below it is center justified. I'm going to shrink it down to right about there. And I'm going to make this blue so it stands out. Okay. So I'm just going to move this stuff down, center it within the slide. And we could add some fancy animations here if we really wanted to, but I'm just going to add a transition to keep things simple. And we're going to continue on with the conveyor transition. So I'm going to make sure conveyor is selected. I'm actually going to have it come in from a different side. You can actually select under effect options where you want the conveyor belt to be going. We're actually going to have it come in from the left this time. So we've got a nice little effect. It comes in on this slide from the right, then it comes in on the next slide from the left. I'm going to center that just a little bit. Now let's preview it one more time, and then I'm going to stop this video, and we're going to get into a more complex slide. So let's preview this, fly into that one. It's going to help you save time and increase profits. You might be asking yourself, what exactly are we talking about? You'll just have to stick around and find out. It'll be worth the wait. We all know the huge potential there is in local marketing. You know, that goes without saying. And now we're going to stop the video here, and we're going to create the next slide, which is basically where we start talking about one of the best ways to build a website or make money offline, or the best way to make money in local marketing is by building a website and selling it to a local business owner. And that's this slide here. So basically we're using images here. So I'm going to recreate this slide in the next video and basically continue on until we finish this video. So I'll see you in the next one.